head with a hammer.
Hey, we got a question here. We all take a jab at it. Whoever want to go first, go first.
Oh, I do. With for the woman on becoming zuhud, it's the same amount of work and dedication for the man. A woman shouldn't stay away from marriage if she wants to, if she needs to be married or feel the need that she should be married. However, in a marriage, everything takes work. Everything takes work. I mean, it's so you could be married. You could be married to someone for 20 years, and it's still in them 20 years is a whole lot of work, whole lot of forbearance, whole lot of patience, whole lot of contentment. I mean that you deal with. This is another person who has rights on you as a spouse and also has rights on you as a Muslim, and that's one of the things that we kind of like overlook. But in regards to like zuhud, for women, I mean, should surround themselves around other women, and that encourage them to interact and practice zuhud. So for a lot of us, a lot of our Muslim sisters, being a zuhud it takes some very hard work. It takes some very hard work. I know brothers that it even take harder work. You know what I'm saying? I remember a brother saying back maybe 20 some years ago, when they see diamonds and jewelry and gold and silver and platinum, it just does something to them. And you know what I'm saying? The thing is that this same brother who I'm talking about, he had no problem with giving. You know what I mean? I done seen him drop 10 stacks in the zakat box. I mean, and I've seen him drop a stack and go around the city of Chicago dropping a stack in each masjid drop a stack in the zakat box. I mean, so he never had no problem with giving. You know what I'm saying? But he also had some other issues that he was dealing with, but he was utilizing that to try to, seeking the Allah Ta'ala's help in removing that love that he had for just nice things and stuff. And what happened is that when Allah Ta'ala gave him a wife, he gave him a wife that was the opposite of his character. So this kind of like assisted him as well. This was part of his assistance. I haven't heard anything from the brother in a while now, so I don't know how he's doing. But the thing is that this is, this is my advice to the women, right? A lot of times also is that, sisters, they may marry a brother, and he's a teacher and he is an imam or he's a leader, but because they know him in a husband way, not as a leader, they won't take anything from them or follow any direction or that they give them. This is kind of like one of the things that could lead to problems as well, because your husband is in a position to where he has a responsibility of other people along with his responsibility of you. However, you're not taking any structure or system that he's providing. That's a part of his provision as well. So part of a woman's zuhud as well is probably to like fight the nafs and to submit and surrender to the system and structure that their husband provides. I've heard stuff say that if a man properly leads, a woman will sincerely follow. That's not true. That's not. That's not.
Well, we talk about Zud though, man. That's about to go somewhere else.
That's
about to go somewhere. That ain't got nothing to do with it. Rapid fire, man. That's about to go into some solution.
every that has been raised under order and structure, they are natural leaders. They're gonna lead, right? They're gonna lead. That's all they know how to do. We have good followers and we have bad followers, right? The one who doesn't follow is not gonna follow him for whatever reason that they themselves are dealing with, right? So that's probably part of the zuhud of a woman as well.
All right, we go to Saleh. Rapid fire.
For one, I don't know if you quoted the hadith when it spoke about ihsan. The Prophet ﷺ said, "And ta'budullaha ka'annaka tarah, fa'in lam takun tarahu fa'innahu yarak." Right. So even if just hear how the Prophet ﷺ, recited the speech of the beloved son of the Prophet ﷺ, right? So this here is to worship Allah as you see Him, even though you cannot see Him. Know that He sees you, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the primary thing of how we gain zuhud. Constant remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now be to perfect, zuhud, to perfect it, what I would say in ours now is to lower these standards to a degree. Right? Tazkiyah to nafs, right? If you think about what our women want to marry for nowadays, it has something to do always with not even just financial stability, but just what his pocket holds, period. And that to a degree is a desire, right? Is a desire. You want someone with the big rapper bank, right? To as we all see it on social media. So now it's about tazkiyah to nafs, fighting your desires. Knowing and wanting marriage for marriage to work, right? If you see now that what's the average ratio now from you being an imam and marrying people, how long a marriage work in your statistics of what you've seen? And we're seeing you.
It's becoming more popular to get divorced within a week.
So now look at it, a week, right? A week. When it comes to following,
really,
right? And that's basically what if that's the honeymoon stage. So now you ain't happy for what old boy was doing, right? Because what the guy said, man. That's on 85 South. The boy Carlos, right? You ever watch Carlos? The guy Carlos that's on 85 South. Mm-hmm. He said that a lot of our women want unicorn men. He got to have money. He got to have this. He got to have a long thing. He must know poetry. He must know this. He must know that. He must know that. And that's the standard, right? And anything else that don't fit underneath that criteria, that's make believe, the relationship isn't going to work, right? But then if we look at when we go to following our desires, right, is that when it comes to a bad guy, you tolerate everything he has to offer because he feed into your desires, right?
And he got the kung fu grip.
Right, and you feed into his desire. So now that the excitement is there, such as you don't know where he is, you're excited. Where is he at? Where is he at? You get to call your girlfriend, say he's not home at night. He's not this. He's not tangible, right? You tolerate him not praying. Tolerate him not fasting. You tolerate him having a girlfriend on the side as long as he's paying the bills, right? But soon as, these standards come of, this man falls short with something on the Islamic criteria, all hell break loose. So we got to learn how to fight our desires with the women. What is your desires? And you got to ask yourself, what is your desires? What is those secrets that you know that you want in a man that is unhealthy for you? Because it all starts with tazkiyah to nafs. And when you see those are unhealthy things, you fight that. You fight that. And when you fight that, and these aren't the things you want, that's fighting the worldly desires. And if you can do that, then you can perfect Islam, because now you're going to want someone who strives to be the Prophet ﷺ, strives, who fasts, who performs this or that, who does these type of things. And you're going to want the marriage to work because you're doing it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what is it saying? If you marry for the sake of Allah, He will increase your what?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's a lot of the fear in our society, is that you're not, you're scared of the risk. What does, we ain't gonna have no money. He broke, he this. But if you marry for the sake of Allah, this person doing all these things, and y'all doing this for the sake of Allah, Allah will protect the believers. right? And I think I was telling this to one of the brothers I was talking to. I said, despite how a lot of these marriages end, right? You may see a sister uncovered. You may see this brother went back to the strip, right? And because of the marriage ended in some drastic way, right? But we don't know who was the believer, who was offering dua, asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to do what's best for them in his marriage. Even though it may ended bad, Allah was protecting somebody in that marriage. We may not know who, right? We may not know who. We don't know if the sister was fighting to, she wanted to uncover. We don't know if the brother was fighting in the streets. It may have ended badly, but we don't know who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was protecting. So the thing is, though, finding out what these desires are, fighting those desires, and asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to take out the love of anything that is displeasing to him and fill it with the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your heart.
Alhamdulillah. My input on the question is there's a few things. One, with the example that you found with the Prophet Sallallahu and his wives, they all shared it specifically. His wives, they weren't the same. They were all different in character-wise. And we're just talking about women, and you're talking about zuhud for women, whether married or not. If someone asks, what is zuhud? Zuhud is having the ability to live in this worldly life, but not having it where it's consuming your heart, where you have love.
Repeat that one more time so they can understand that. Repeat that one more time.
Zuhud is with having the ability to live in this worldly life, but not having, in the things accumulated in it, but not having it in your heart where it controls you, right? And it alters you. Because something that you have in your heart, you're gonna act on it. You're not gonna have iman in your heart and not demonstrate it on your limbs.
I said that earlier.
It has to be displayed. And so, going back to the Prophet Sallallahu and his wives, all of them were generous. They all possessed generosity. Every last one of them had the same. Some were more than others, but they were women who gave sadaqah. Because if there's a thing where you're not dedicated to it, you're not dedicated, to that thing, or you are dedicated to it and you're able to give it up, then that means you don't have that, that diehard, kind of like possessive love for that thing. You'll give it up, right? But if you love a thing, you ain't gonna give it up. Like if somebody gives you something, right, then they gave it to you, right? But you want to see a person's level, let somebody give you something and then you give it to someone else, and they ask you where it's at. Be like, oh, I gave that away. But why would you give it away and I gave it to you? You see what I'm saying? So that's an example, of that. And with regards to that, and that's easy to practice whether a person's married or not. Sometimes Allah Ta'ala puts you in a situation, in a predicament. Sometimes your form of zuhud is maybe being with a person that don't possess the same thing that you got. And you're able to assist them and give them, or just be content with what they're able to provide for you, right? And I'm not just restricting this just to marriage, this with anybody, period, right? You're content with what they're able to give you, right? So that's also a form of zuhud. You don't find any displeasure in what you receive. You receive it and you roll with it, and with pride and stride, versus complaining, oh, this wasn't what I wanted, or why I can't do this. You accept it, because the reality that will help you with the dunya, this whether male or female, is the moment you start understanding and recognizing that the thing that you accumulate or whatever you get is something that Allah Ta'ala is giving you. Allah Ta'ala is the one who gives you the ni'mah. And we have to begin to see it like that. And Allah knows best. There's another question. And this is the last one, inshallah. We're going to rapid fire. We ain't giving no khutbah at the khutbah type joint. Rapid fire. Because I got some food coming. I'm hungry. You know what I'm saying? And we done after this. No, but anyway, there's the next one. Also, how do we teach teen kids and young adults how to purify their heart?
This question is real interesting. With teen kids and young adults, if they're your teen kids and young adults, normally they learn by example, your example. However, you know what I'm saying, if you as a parent examine your children's characteristics and see what qualities that your children have, for example, I have a child that they're shy, but they would always share. Like if they're eating something, they'll share it. Or if they're playing with something, they'll share it. And then I have a child, they um they may not share, they may not share or be generous, but they offer their help and their aid if someone is doing something. They're asked, can they help them? Right. So you know what I'm saying, these characteristics is come from examining your children, see if they have good qualities, these certain qualities. Normally, like the teen kids, they've already did examination of you, and they, from their upbringing and growing up, they've already came up with their own analogies to certain things. So even as young adults, as teenagers and young adults, they're still going after looking at your example. But at that time, they're not just looking at your example; they comparing your example to other elders or adults, older than them, examples that they're doing as well. So this is how they will learn as well, along with mentioning these things to them. I mean, because they need repetition. They will take repetition as well. That's the only way that's my explanation to this question. You know what I'm saying? And if they like for example, if you're teaching them the adhkar on pure on dhikr and other means of trying to purify the heart, then they would have to put it into practice. Allah Ta'ala have to give them the ability to put it into practice. So you could teach them, they could see your example, but if Allah Ta'ala don't give it to them, they're not gonna implement it. But once they do implement it, this is something that you're gonna get a reward for as well. You know what I'm saying? For them practicing it. So that's all.
It starts with the home. All right. The kids have to see that this worldly life don't mean nothing to you, right? Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, he must narrated a hadith. It's not even a hadith, forgive me. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, he said himself, he said that the heart is the king and the soldiers are the limbs. If the king is set right, his soldiers will be set right. And if the king is corrupted, his soldiers will be corrupted. All right. So now it's about them seeing this in action as well. If your kids see this, the kids are sponges. If they see this, they want to implement some of the things you do, and you just have to guide them away. And as many times you've seen in the Quran where the father and the parents had to talk with their son, oh my son, and reminded their children about these type of things, and the parents went to go check on them when they got older and all these type of things. So the key is, though, it starts home, you showing that this stuff doesn't matter to you, right? This doesn't matter to you. And explaining to them why it doesn't matter to you. And if you do that correctly, you're gonna receive beautiful fruits from your tree. You know what I mean? So the main thing is you implementing it yourself, showing it in the household, and the kids will pick that up. Because sometimes in our house, once the door closed, we be tripping. All of us, all of us be tripping. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. We all be tripping. And that's sometimes have a major effect on our children because what we do secretly. But we have to display exactly what we are on a daily basis, and they will pick up on them things.
Yeah, definitely, I agree with everything y'all said. One example I want to just point your attention to, and you mentioned one name. The Prophet Sallallahu was known; he always kept youth around him, right? Always, at least a dozen of young men, and he was constantly, teaching them. And if you look at each one, right? The Sahaba that was known for interpretation of the Quran, known for fiqh and and so on and so forth. Their fathers were prominent companions of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, right? And then you found that their sons were just as prominent as the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and I'm sorry, as prominent as their parents, as the father, and so on and so forth. So my case in point is to involve them in the establishment of Islam, even as children in the home, even as children in the home. Excuse me, 1 second. So even as children, even in the home, they have to be part of the same, part of it. They have to be part of the establishment of Deen. You're constantly establishing Deen. So it's not just a thing, it's just restricted. Oh, the Imam gives out the knowledge and we just follow it. No, you take that same knowledge and you put it into practice within your home and within the family. And, and if you're teaching about purifying the heart, make it, teach them in the same way you're learning, but make the language easy for them to understand. Make it on their level for them to understand it, right? You give them parables that they can relate to, so on and so forth, stuff like that. Purifying the heart. The best time to teach them is while they're young. So hopefully that they don't grow up with those desires, right? Like if you ever watch, I'm pretty sure almost everybody did, but if you watch something like, what was the House of Dragons, right? How they were preparing those children to take over and lead the kingdom, right? And they were having them learning with the one boy with the brown hair. He wasn't a full Targaryen, but anyway, the boy with the brown hair, he had to learn the language of the Targaryens, right? And it's the same thing. You teach the children the same way. Children are going to follow what you teach. They don't always contradict. That's like a myth, and that's what society pushes. And it also depends on what we're allowing them to listen to, read, and watch in their leisure time as well. That also plays a major influence, but you have to keep Islam around them. Likewise, the same way that I say sometimes with teaching, women get left out because, they may feel like they don't have to come to the masjid, or, they don't go to Jummah because it's not obligation, etc., etc. But also keep in mind that children also, we usually leave our children in school during Jummah, right? Or, and so on and so forth. So if they constantly have a life where that reminder is not being preached to them, and they hear the words of their parents, it might go in one ear and out the other, so on and so forth. So we have to begin to show that example and make it all inclusive, because, the message that you're actually sending when you leave a child all day in school without going to Jummah is that, school is important. Allah is secondary. You always got Allah. Or you start making up little flashy, little sexy little sayings like, Allah is always in your heart, right? The whole world is the masjid. That's when you start using the Prophet Sallallahu. But Jummah is incumbent upon the believers. Allah mentions it in the Quran. But we're showing them that it's okay to put Allah Ta'ala to the side. And Allah knows best. Inshallah, anybody, comments or questions to close out? Muhammad, give us that good dua, Inshallah, take us home.
I have a question before, right?
Okay.
What can we say, right? And this is for you, Imam. What are some of the things, right? Right, we can advise ourselves, right, to our women, how to gain suhbah, because one of the major problems that they're having with themselves of gaining that is that they lack, a lot of them lack companionships. They say I don't hang with girls, I don't hang with women, I don't like hanging with women, right? And also another one is that, how do you feel about women that's not married not going to Jumu'ah and saying that it's not required to them? How do you feel about that? The first question, answer the first one. You can answer the second one quickly as well.
I think, you know, very simple with regards to sohbah. Honestly, it's a lot of ego driven. It's real ego driven. And it's a thing of I'm better than you. Sometimes it's arrogance, sometimes it's just conceit. So, the thing they accuse other women when you listen to the stories, or where they incriminate incriminate another person. Women are messy. There's rules to Islam. The messiness. If we stop backbiting and slandering, then you'll have good suhbah. That's one of the main ingredients in order to establish that suhbah. But one of the things you have to see is this: you have the same problem amongst the ranks with men as well. The thing is that men tend to have a tendency to be able to brush things off, but as time is getting, I'm not seeing that no more like it used to be. Men used to be able to get over things and keep it pushing. But those who are more in tune with the Deen, with the Sharia, they know that suhbah is something that's important, right? They know that's important, and they know that shunning your brother is also something that is rejected and is blameworthy. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Don't abandon each other." Right. So, if we don't view the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ as something that's important, or what Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran, you're not going to establish a suhbah with anybody. Most people can't establish camaraderie with their family. If you look at most families, like cousins ain't talking to cousins, cousins shooting cousins, and brothers beating up brothers, stabbing each other, and so on and so forth. So if you're not inclined towards Allah Ta'ala's Deen,
Uncles want
you
to
don't care about suhbah.
nephew.
Yeah, exactly. You're not going to care. You're not going to care about that stuff. Whatever's sacred is just being violated. And breaking the ties with kin and kin is more serious than we actually think. Breaking ties with kin and kin is a serious sin. Breaking bonds with the believers is even worse. It's even worse. So a lot of time, like I said, it's ego driven. When you can't put your ego to the side, and it's so hypocritical because you find a lot of Muslims that work. Oh, Uncle Two Bob tell them, you and Bo Quisha, y'all just gonna have to get together. Guess who gonna work together? Bo Quisha and because Uncle Two Bob said so. And if not, I'm gonna let one of y'all go. They fall right in line. But here Allah Ta'ala tells you to be brothers of one another and you'll enter paradise. I can't do the sisters. I can't do that. That's why I don't come to the masjid now. We look at the masjid as the epicenter of fitna versus looking at it as the epicenter of khair. And anytime you're trying to establish something, there's fitna in there. There's fitna in the workplace. There's fitna in school. There's fitna in the family. And so you think you're not abandoning those things. And then some of the people, the only thing that people do is they keep company with people that agree with them. They keep company with people that agree with them. So when they don't come to the masjid, it might be a ni'mah in disguise. Because it just might not, they might just destroy everything before they leave out. Tear it all down. I'm going to make sure ain't none of y'all friends before I leave. So, and Allah knows best, man. And what was the second question?
About the women also saying it's not it's not applied for me to go to the masjid when I'm not even though they're not married. So how do you feel about women not going to the masjid, even not being married and learning?
This is definitely true. Whether you're married or not, the masjid is there for women to attend. And how do we learn about women, the permissibility of women being able to go to the masjid, and the husband doesn't have the ability to sanction him from going to the masjid? From Ibn Umar. He got reprimanded by the Prophet ﷺ and his father because he forbade his wife from going to the masjid. All right. So, this decision, of course, a lot of people aren't forbidden from coming to the masjid. They take it upon themselves to, to stay away, And if you are a woman that stays home, then you should do everything in your power to make sure that you find every type of Islamic lecture, Islamic podcast, sisters events, keep company with other believers, because your strength is only going to be built on your contribution to the community. If you look at the companions as they were part of things, their wives were just as much as part of it as the men were. Now, even you had single women. The single women were just as much as part of the thing as not. How do we learn about the permissibility of a woman proposing herself to a man for marriage? It was in a general assembly amongst the Muslims. What happened? You see what I'm saying? She asked the Prophet, Ya Rasulullah, if you have any need for me, you can marry me. She was in a general assembly, right? He didn't meet her at the mall, on the strip, in the marketplace. It was in a general assembly, right? When Umar ibn Khattab was addressing the issue about the mahar and wanted to put a sanction to it, there was a woman that stood up and said, "Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, you can't do this." It was a general assembly. So women are just as much as contributors. Matter of fact, we can go on for days about this. They were major contributors. They were part of the marketplace, especially during the time of Umar ibn Khattab, right? They were part of the marketplace. They used to be part of the people who do the weights and measures. It was like L&I. They played a major part in the contribution. They weren't just in the kitchen cooking, right? For lack of a better word.
They catered to the soldiers as well.
Right, exactly. They took care of the men that were wounded, right? Yep. Everybody played a part, but due to our ego and our own arrogance, and you can already tell how big the ego is. All you got to do is just look at social media. You're only going to be friends with those that cater to your ego. Who's going to agree with you? Al-maru ala dini khalilihi, fanyadru ala khalil. Right? You go on the dini, your close companion. Look at who you take as your companion. So a person that's that isolated, or a person who can't maintain relationships, those are like red flags. Those are red flags, honestly. They can't keep friends. They don't have the same friends. They never have friends, right? Just with no explanation, no rhyme or reason, right? This is what it is. So, y'all ready?
Before we go,
I'm hungry.
Like, subscribe. Imam Khalil, he needs a Movado. Abdul Mujeeb needs an Apple Pen Series 2 of it. And I think Abu Muhammad said he needs a laptop. So if you can donate, we need Apple Pens to write our lectures down. Imam Khalil needs a Movado when he's on there looking at the time to see when the football's over. And Imam Malik Abu Muhammad needs a new laptop to do his work and stuff he needs done too. So please like, subscribe, and donate with a capital D. Donate.
Pause. Hey, tomorrow, inshallah. Gosh, I forgot what time it's supposed to be on the flyer. Hold on. I'll tell you. I think we're gonna get on here about 1:30, about 1 o'clock.
Yo, somebody said we're gonna pray for it. Yo, y'all doing this like that? Come on, y'all. Y'all supposed to be supporters, man. We need support, man. Oh man.
Hold on. I'm gonna tell you the time tomorrow. Tomorrow, it's like 12:30 to 3:30. Let's push it back till 1 o'clock, inshallah. And then we'll probably go to basically till Maghrib, because it's about the same time, inshallah. All right. So, barakallahu feekum. Barakallahu. Oh, Muhammad.
اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق وخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق وهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره مقدار العظيم. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. اللهم اغفر لنا وللمؤمنين ومؤمنات ومسلمين ومسلمات. اللهم اغفر لنا وللمؤمنين ومؤمنات ومسلمين ومسلمات. اللهم اغفر لنا وللمؤمنين ومؤمنات ومسلمين ومسلمات. سبحانك اللهم بحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك ونتوب إليك. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله برحمتك وارحم الراحمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الكريم. آمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. See everybody tomorrow, inshallah.